break, I watched very intently as Scott Hamilton, a former guest in the Bumper to Bumper program.
Yeah, it was a great guest. And,
of course, all-time great U.S. Olympic figure skating champion. Terrific interview. Great career. From the studio, speak of his level of shock. And that's what he kept saying. I am in shock. I not only expected him to win, I expected him to win by 30, is what he said. He had won 14 straight events. 14 in a row. So I think that goes back to 23. Wow. 2024-23. 14 straight he had won. Hamilton called it devastating, shocking, and he didn't have, how do you explain it? There is no real explanation for what indeed took place here. We're talking about Ilya Malinin, who was prohibitively favored to win the men's singles. He was up 5 points going into the long form program, and he ends up finishing 8th. Not even close to hitting the medal stand, let alone the gold medal. So this will be when we look back on these Olympics, when they do the 2026 Winter Olympics in review, this will be, from a U.S. standpoint at least, this will be probably the top story, right? Because there was so much expected of him, every reason to believe in him. And I think even if you go, okay, well, he didn't have his best performance, I don't think there was any possibility offered that he could fall this far, right? It'll end up being one of the major stories forever and ever when we look back on these Olympics.
Because he'll probably be back again.
One would assume.
I would imagine, right? He's young enough. So now you're going to get that Michaela Schifrin redemption angle.
Correct.
To try to come back the other way. Although, as we mentioned within the last couple of days, she hasn't really redeemed herself yet. But think about it. You've got this. You've got Vaughn getting hurt. You've got our ice dancers getting jobbed by the officials. It's kind of up to the hockey teams right now.
It's kind of true.
Hockey teams better not slip up.
Yeah.
The women have been dominant. The men, obviously, it's more back and forth with Canada here recently. More forth than back. Right.
Well,
this is going to be wild. So now will more people watch tonight, the prime time?
Yes.
Because they want to see it.
I think they will. Because I hate to call it ambulance chasing, but I don't even think it has to be that. I think it literally has to be, well, I didn't get a chance to see it live. What happened?
And how they react to it.
And now that you know, if you don't sequester yourself, then you're going to be watching even more closely for what seemed to be obvious mistakes that he makes along the way. In figure skating, like a lot of these judging sports, the competitors generally, I think, are instructed and taught to, when you're wrapping up your routine, even if you're not delighted with your performance, you got to use the poker face, man.
Yeah.
You can't look disappointed. He didn't look disappointed. He looked devastated.
Probably
he had
stunned.
his hands over his face. There was no effort to hide, and I'm probably from his point of view, what am I hiding? Everybody could see it. So it's not like any of the judges are going to be fooled because I looked like I felt at the end that I did okay. But there was nothing. You want to talk about thrill of victory, agony of defeat that we were have talked about before? There's your agony of defeat. I don't know. I have to believe if you go back to the last 5 or 6 Winter Olympics, in terms of individual events, has to be as shocking a result as we've seen for at least that long, and maybe the most shocking. He's young, like you said, right? By skating standards, so you'd think there's every reason he could rebound, and if he does, then that's going to become a big story. It'll become an even bigger story because it sets itself up, right?
Yep.
How does he respond next time around? Will it mean more to him this time around because of what took place last time? But this was supposed to be the old coronation.
Coronation, exactly the word.
And so and then you get it. You say again, well, that's why sports are so compelling.
That's why the Olympics.
And why the Olympics are as big as they can be is that it doesn't matter what was supposed to happen. Doesn't matter if you've given yourself a nickname. You still got to go out and perform. And They mentioned that the guy who won it at first didn't even seem to understand that he won it because he probably had been conditioned and programmed to think, well, we're all competing for silver next to the quad god, right? And then he figured out that, hey, I got the gold medal. Double check for me the country he is from. I cannot remember.
Okay. And by the end of the show here, apparently he did. Quad God just did an interview with Andrea Joyce as well that apparently was pretty good. He's right off the ice onto the. Well,
that's the other thing. Hamilton, who was with Hamilton, main NBC guy, the host,
Tirico?
Jim McKay, Tirico. I think Tirico said this, and we didn't have the sound turned up for that because we were still on the air. But that's what Tirico said. He said the interview he gave was remarkable and remarkably composed, given how devastated he has to be because of the incredible buildup about what I mean. Going in, I was saying, how are we going to look back on this thing? And his collapse is going to be one of the top stories. If he'd won the gold, no matter what else happened the rest of the way, especially if he dominated the way he was supposed to, that too was going to be one of the top stories looking back, right? I mean, it would be clearly because, first of all, it's figure skating, right? And it's men's, it's not women's. Women's is more popular in terms of the ratings, but nevertheless, it's a very, very big event. Looks like 10 minutes to go in the third period. U.S. women 6, Italia nothing, 6-0. We're piling it on. Shots on goal disparity is considerable. USA 41, Italy 5.
Yeah.
41-5. All right. What about bonus bucks? We got some?
We do. Check is the keyword for the 4 o'clock hour today. It's our national cash contest. We'd love to give you some bonus bucks. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword check.
Fan.
Dave Chappelle returns to Minnesota this coming Monday, February 16th, with very special guest clips. Don't miss out on this one-off, one-of-a-kind set at Grand Casino Arena, and tickets are on sale right now. You can go to KFAN.com to learn more. Keyword calendar.
So the National Basketball Association made some news. I think the press release was offered up this morning that the league has fined the Utah Jazz $500,000, right? Was it $500,000?
It was.
Is that the number? And they fined the Indiana Pacers, was it $100,000?
$100, yep.
And in both cases, they're saying we are holding teams accountable for... Well, they didn't use the word tanking, but this is all tanking related, right? In the case of the Jazz, a story we discussed, first time we discussed it, I think, was Sunday on Sermons. And I lost my mind about it then. Utah, I think they were playing Miami. I don't remember the team they were playing, but they went into the fourth quarter with leading. And they decided to sit their two best players. That's Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen, I think, was the other.
You got it.
Neither player played the rest of the game.
They did this twice, against the Magic on the 7th and the Heat on the 9th.
Okay, and sure enough, in the case of the Heat, for sure, I know they ended up losing a game that they were ahead going into the fourth quarter.
Miami, they won.
Oh, Miami, they won.
Why the owner's bitter.
I see. Okay.
Part of it. The Magic game, they lost.
Yeah. They won, but they were... I don't even think winning is a defense.
Right.
Because it's very clear that short of literally in the huddle saying to guys, you got to start missing shots. Guys, do you remember Mark Madsen in Minnesota? Even if you are a terrible three-point shooter, problem is there's more good three-point shooters now, just keep flinging them up. And if you have to, fling them up from half court. But I heard a meltdown earlier today from Kendrick Perkins, and he and I are in agreement on this. I think $500,000 is too light. I don't know what the right number is. He said $5 million.
Yeah.
Maybe $5 million would get people's attention. I said draft picks already. And I don't even know how many Utah has. But that level, I get it. Don't text me with the reasons. We know the reasons. We know about the lottery system. We know about we got to try to find a way to get some generational talent and give ourselves the best chance to do it. I know all of that. The league is in crisis on this. If it's reached a point where that trade-off is worth it to any team, to me, this goes beyond tanking. I think the term that Perkins went with is you are throwing the game. And here's my other question. Aren't we in bed with the gambling community now, the NBA? All
big time.
How do you justify somebody who makes a bet for whatever reason on the Jazz or whatever team?
Right.
How do you, in a straight face, how can you have a relationship with the betting community and allow any of this to take place? Because you are messing, in that sense, with people's money, right?
Big time. Yes.
Not to mention, as I said, the morality of what it lays out. I'm just telling you, if the NBA is smart, they're literally spending as much money as they need to find big brains who can, and by the way, it wouldn't be Generation Zers, we know that, big brains who can come up with some ideas that will, if not eliminate tanking, discourage it. Some new system.
Disincentivize it.
Exactly. Because I think this is crisis stuff. They won't believe that because they're still making too much money. They're going to add 2 more teams. I assume the expansion fees are going to be ridiculous.
Yep.
So they can live in that world, but it is such an abhorrent look. And I mentioned this the other day. I just don't think Adam Silver has the stomach for it to be as tough as I know David Stern would be. I think Stern would be far more draconian, and I think Stern would also be. Player Association want to come after me, or teams want to come after me. Let's bring it. Well, fine. I'll go toe to toe with you,
right?
Because this is integrity of the game stuff. No question about that. I think that's a new level. We've seen. I've talked about. Is there such a thing as responsible tanking? Relatively speaking, yes.
And Flip would call it developing, not tanking.
That's true.
We're not tanking, we're developing.
But this is on a whole, this is so brazen. I don't remember anybody doing this like, oh, Jesus, we're ahead going into the 4th. Sit them both. I honestly, and the only reason you do it, as I think I said yesterday, is you're not afraid. And I'm not even sure $500,000 will be enough. I think it's got to be draft choices. I think it's got to be suspensions. This can't stand. And if you stand for anything in terms of integrity as a league, you have to find a way out of the box. And the other interesting thing that Perkins brought up, I haven't studied the players enough to know. He said the great irony to him is this notion that there are 5 or 6 franchise-saving players he rejects. He thinks it's a good draft, but he doesn't even buy the premise that is motivating teams to say, we're going to double and triple down. We're not going to wait to March anymore or April. We're doing it now in mid to early February, for God's sake, and stop us. We got to do what we got to do. It's awful, and a lot of people will say, "Ooh, $500,000." I don't even think it's close to being big enough. I don't. I think it's got to be much, much bigger. It's the old deal of some team is going to have to pay the price, even beyond the crime, for the commissioner to make the point that gets across to everybody. It may even be unfair to that one team,
right?
But I think that's what you have to do. I really do.
I would say, and you would know this better than I, it probably would never have gotten to this point with David Stern. This probably would have been addressed before we got to this crisis point, probably.
Correct.
They have tried to do some things to discourage tanking, including the play-in, right? The play-in tournament was a big thing that was allegedly put in to discourage tanking, I think, a couple of years ago, that now 10 teams have a chance for 8 spots.
Yes, exactly.
So even if you're we've seen below 500 teams have the 9 and 10 seed. That's basically where the Chicago Bulls have been the last couple of years. there's going to be a lot of think pieces on what you do. I don't know what you do. Like the WNBA does the 3-year aggregate, right, of your worst record. Right. Like maybe that's something they could look at. It's
better, but I don't know if it depends on the team, I guess, because for some teams they'll say, okay, we'll sacrifice 3 seasons.
Right.
We'll sacrifice 4 seasons if we need to.
And how many seasons did Oklahoma City develop before they got all their guys and now they're winning, right? There's a lot of teams that have, the Sixers tried to do it, right? They called that the process. They stacked up 3 or 4 top 5 picks. I think Embiid was probably the only one that was ever worth anything. But so that's not even a new concept either, that teams have been trying to stack bad seasons on top of each other to get good talent.
Do you know what? Here's the other thing, because a couple of people said, hey, the Spurs, what do you think they did? And that's you guys aren't talking about that. Well, actually, a lot of us did talk about it. But here's why I feel it's different now. You not only have more tanking, throwing of games going on than ever, you have that coupled with a relatively new development on load management.
Right.
So that's what's different. That's what makes all this feels different, is you got more than one crisis going on that all leads to what? Not playing your best players often enough. In a league in which prices are going up all of the time to obscene levels.
To watch, as a fan. Yep.
It's just you. Honestly, I don't know if there's within the league. Maybe Adam Silver is loved, and I don't think he's a bad commissioner. But I think, as I said the other day, I think he's too nice a guy for this, and he needs, or somebody needs to get to him to say, you may be like patting yourself on the back, saying, "Oh, 500,000. See, you don't think I'm tough?"
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think that's a drop in the bucket, especially for billionaires. I really do.
Well, exactly. Now, the Utah owner would disagree with you. He's argued about it and said you're not on the paying side of it. He's been attacking people on social media the last few days, but it doesn't seem. Maybe this was like the first warning shot, and if it happens again, maybe it does get more draconian. I don't know.
A texter writes, how do you quantify / prove tanking? The Jazz owner brought up a decent point. They won the game where they sat players and were accused of tanking. You can't be serious. He can't be serious with that with that comeback. Are we that? How many Generation Zers do we have? Are we all this stupid? How much clearer can it get that you literally don't rest your 2 best players for 4 or 5 minutes, which a lot of teams do at the start of the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. You refuse to play them the rest of the game. As I said, you think they were happy they won? I mean, there are limits, I guess, to what you can do is the point, unless the next step is, as I said, getting into the huddles and say, we need more guys, we need more turnovers. Don't stop getting back on defense. And obviously you can't be that frontal, but I don't know how much more frontal you get in what your intent is. And intent matters here. Your intent clearly was to make it as difficult as possible to win a game. That doesn't mean you can't win it, because shots go in. The other team plays poorly. But the idea that, we won the game, that's like the Wolves, the game we sat next to each other on the Madsen game where he took 7 3-pointers.
The Madsen game.
They went into overtime.
Yeah,
so you
could
say,
hey, a good game.
They were still trying to win the thing. Well, it's the same thing. Dwayne Casey was the coach.
Yep.
You can't get in the huddle and say, guys, please. I mean, we want fourth quarter Foy. We want to pick where we want to pick in the draft. I mean, I think as brazen as it's become, there's even limits there. Although, it wouldn't shock me if eventually someone goes that far as well.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Bottom of the hour break. We'll come back, and I got some A-Section stuff to get to, and who knows what else when we return.
Join Muss and Miller Lite at Duke's Pizza Pub in Oakdale. Make a little noise next Thursday from 5 to 7. Stop by for drink specials, games. Register for a chance to win a spot in the Vikings Foundation Golf Tournament. KFAN.com, keyword golf for all the details.
All right, so the way the NBA lottery works now, the draft lottery, here's how, according to NBA.com, it's currently set up. Team number 1, I assume that's the team that finishes with the worst record.
Okay.
14% chance to get the top pick. Team 2, 14%. Team 3, 14%. Then it goes to 12.5, 10.5, 9.0, 7.5, 6, 4.5, 3, 2, 1.5, 1. Team 14 is 0.5. How about if you did this? Let's say, for example, Utah finishes with the worst record. They're supposed to have a 14% chance. What if you take it down to 0.5%? What do you say? Okay, we're going to have a system. If we catch you and deem that you have crossed this line,
you go to the bottom.
You go to the bottom, or you go close to now. That still gives you a mathematical chance, which is annoying. But there's got to be that. To me, is where your punishment would have some teeth, right? The money won't, because again, most owners are billionaires, and they'll say, "Well, that's worth it because
it's an investment."
It's an investment. It's exactly it. So, to me, short of changing the whole system, because there is clearly, according to people I talk to, a lot of consultation going on at the league offices about this thing. They are trying to come up with some ideas for the future. In the interim, say, okay, we'll have a system where we're not going to, I guess, short of that, you could remove them from the lottery. You could also do that too. To me, it's got to be something very, very significant beyond money, or I'm not sure you're going to give yourself much of an opportunity.
I kind of forgotten about, because we're a Western Conference Finals team now, Dan. we don't worry about these things.
Yeah,
we used to have to know lottery odds inside and out.
Yep.
That was basically my entire childhood was draft lottery night. So my entire childhood was Wolves Lottery and Chatham Barrero, if that tells you anything about
scary,
it. Is. I think it's a lot scary. I think it answers a lot of questions here. I'd forgotten that they had done kind of the tier for 1, 2, 3, because that was an effort to eliminate tanking, or eliminate's not the right word, but discourage tanking. To say, just because you're the worst team by far doesn't mean you're going to get the best chance. We're going to mix you
that's the idea in theory.
So they've tried it a little bit, but teams, obviously, enough of them aren't adhering. And the other thing is, we talked about on TV that has screwed this whole thing up. When I was growing up, I don't ever remember lottery protected picks getting traded.
No, that's a departure.
I don't remember. Maybe I don't remember when it started, but because that is also that's part of the reason Utah is tanking.
Yes,
because theirs, I think, is top 10 protected. That's supposed to go to Oklahoma City in a deal. Of course.
There's some weird deals where it's like 5 to 10 were unprotected, and then after that we get it back. It's gotten so complicated.
Exactly. Yeah. So teams aren't just tanking to say, "Hey, we want to pick the kid from Kansas that's going to go number 1." We just want to make sure we keep our pick this year, so we need it to be inside the top 3, 5, 7, 10, whatever the protection was, which is, I think, opened the door for more of this stuff to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if I can read this Wolves in 5, but it's very clever. I'll leave it at that, and we can discuss it during the break.
Better star it. You don't want to lose it.
No, that's also true. All right, let's get to a couple of A-Section items. Did you see this story, Gaardsy? This is a break. I think this broke earlier today. We had the big news yesterday that your guy, the border czar, Mr. Holman,
Tom Holman,
had a presser in the morning, big statement saying the metro surge is over. I recommended it to the president, and the president agreed, and we're on our way out of Dodge. We're out. We did what we wanted to do. We did what we came to do, and we'll still be watching you, but it's not going to be the same. Pretty big news. We'll see if indeed there's evidence that it's going to move. They're going to move that quickly, because that's what we've been led to believe. But here's an update. Do you remember the shooting? This was about a broom/shovel attack that took place. Fortunately, in this case, there were no fatalities in the shooting, but the men who were detained, in fact, well, here, I'll just read you the one of the news items. After detaining these men, generating national headlines about a broom-shovel attack, detaining one of the defendant's partners and separating them from their 1-year-old son, the Trump administration drops the charges, citing newly discovered evidence. Newly discovered evidence. Beyond that, there's now apparently a question about, let me see if I can find the other news item. From ICE Director Todd Lyons, the 2 officers involved in the Jan 14 chase/shooting incident appeared to have lied under oath and are being investigated by DOJ. And, of course, this comes after DHS Secretary Kristi Noem defended them as firing in self-defense. So That was one of the shootings. This was not the fatality one, but it got a lot of attention at the time. And now even the feds are dropping everything and now suggesting that the testimony that under oath that they got from a couple of the individuals a couple of the ICE members has been very much called into question. That's what we call in the business a follow-up. The other story I wanted to get to from the A-Section today, this is, you could argue it's fairly timeless, but then I keep putting it off, and I go, well, I don't want to keep putting it off just because it's timeless, because I do think it has some significance. We've talked a lot over the administrations, several administrations, on the subject of pardons, right? Presidential pardons, that it has become I guess you could say, a reflex that presidents have exercised or used too recklessly in a number of cases. You can go all the way back to Bill Clinton's midnight pardon of Mark Rich. We talked about and criticized heavily some of the Biden pardons, as you recall, including a late one. His kid, right?
Yep.
Exactly it. Embarrassing, inexcusable, and makes no sense. But I'm looking at an item from the Cato Institute, another one of those hardcore left-wing websites. Look it up. And they tell us or remind us of a story that only confirms whatever we think of previous pardons, and many of them are absolutely rippable. We're in a brave new world that trumps, no pun intended, pretty much anything that has come before. For example, in the first year of the second Trump administration, the president has issued, you want to take a guess? 166 individual pardons. 166 already. This is in the second administration.
Wow.
As well, of course, as a mass pardon. That doesn't even count the mass pardon, erasing the verdicts of more than 1,500 Jan 6 Capitol rioters. Okay? So this is now, they're doing the math for us. Trump is now, even if you put aside the collective pardon of 1,500, even if you don't include them, Trump is now issuing pardons at 8 times the rate Biden did. 8 times. But as they point out, it's not just the number, it's the types of pardons that appear in their mind indefensible. For example, Biden's pardons eliminated roughly $680,000 in financial penalties. That's fines, restitution, and forfeitures owed to victims or the government. In contrast, Liz Oyer, the former lead pardon attorney of the United States, has calculated that already, Trump's second-term pardons have forgiven criminal debts of more than, wait for it, $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. This is money owed to crime victims and to government treasuries. Now it's zero from 1.5. Ex-criminals like Trevor Milton, who no longer must repay the investors he defrauded, $660 million. Lawrence Duran, who no longer must repay the government he defrauded, $87 million. Then there was the HDR Global Trading Limited, owed the nation a $100 million fine. In this case, Trump also made history by granting the nation's very first pardon, wait for it, to a corporation. Not to a person, but to an entire corporation. How about the pardoning of disgraced politicians, including former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who, if you'll recall, orchestrated a spree of state-sponsored drug trafficking. Wait a minute. Drug trafficking? I thought we were blowing people out of the water in the boats about the drug trafficking because it was a national emergency. Well, in this case, 45 years prison term, but that's been he's been pardoned by the president, Juan Orlando Hernandez. Nevada legislator Michelle Fiore, who embezzled $70,000 out of a police memorial fund for personal expenses like rent and plastic surgery.
I should have been playing this every time.
That's true. Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins, who handed out badges to untrained businessmen in exchange for $75,000 in bribes. And Tennessee House Speaker Glenn Casada, who defrauded state government with a fake payee kickback scheme. Perhaps Well, no, that's a parenthetical that's not worth getting into. Third, Trump's pardons are beginning to undermine the contemporaneous work of, wait for it, his own Department of Justice. Alina Habba, Trump's own U.S. attorney in New Jersey, announced Joseph Schwartz's 3-year sentence for $38 million in tax fraud in April. Trump pardoned him 7 months later. Real estate developer Timothy Lewicki, there's a name that's familiar to Minnesota Timberwolves fans.
That's right.
Was charged earlier this year with conspiring to rig the bidding process for a Texas sports arena. Trump pardoned him in December. These are folks from his own offices whose work was almost immediately nullified because, just get them out of there. How about number 4? The self-corruption thread. For instance, the ordinary vetting procedures of the Office of the Pardon Attorney have often been sidestepped. Formality in pardon deliberation is desirable because it immunizes the president from the appearance of pay to play. The absence of such formality makes it plausible that a multitude of recent pardons are transactional. Example, Trump pardoned Paul Walsack, who evaded millions of dollars in taxes after Walsack's mother raised millions of dollars for MAGA candidates and paid $1 million to dine with the president at Mar-a-Lago. Trevor Milton, the securities fraudster mentioned above, donated $1.8 million to Trump's campaign before a presidential pardon wiped out all $660 million of his restitution obligations. Before Trump pardoned Changpeng Zhao, who headed the cryptocurrency exchange Binance while it fostered more than 1.5 million illegal virtual trades, as well as prohibited transactions to Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Hamas, Zhao had brokered a $2 million investment in Eric and Donald Trump Jr.'s cryptocurrency business called the World Liberty Financial. When asked about Zhao in a subsequent 60 Minutes interview, you may recall, we talked about it, Trump said, "I got no idea who he is. I was told that he was a victim, just like I was, and just like many other people, of a vicious, horrible group of people in the Biden administration." Another Trump pardon recently immunized your guy, Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar, a Democrat, and his wife from prosecution for receipt of bribes. Trump evidently hoped Cuellar would return the favor by switching parties to the GOP. When that didn't happen, the president released the following angry statement on Truth Social, criticizing Cuellar for, quote, such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Can you make this stuff up? I don't think that you can. Here's one of my other favorites. Oh, this is the other thing. He can't, when it comes to state-level convictions, he can't eliminate those. So here's what he's done in one case. He can't pardon election felon Tina Peters for state crimes. So here's what he's doing. He's putting the squeeze on Colorado, the state in which that conviction took place. Moving Space Command, canceling $100 million in grants, and vetoing a clean water pipeline. Other than that, how's the play? This is draining the swamp? Now, I know that's ancient history. That was the first term.
Yep.
And maybe there was not even going to be any pretense to that.
It's pretty incredible.
But that's a pretty remarkable list, I would say. A pretty remarkable list. Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line is open at 646-866. Have we seen, is there been any local reporting from the reporters we trust on whether they have already seen significant change in the streets when it comes to the ICE approach, less visibility? Do we know? Because I'm assuming there's going to be good reporting on that, attempting to vet to find out whether what we thought we had coming was going to be headed our way. All the changes that Holman said was coming here in days, right? Now, I don't even know he said days. I think the governor said days. But he made it sound like, as of now, we're pulling out of Dodge, is what I recall him saying. Any sense of that from the reporters that we trust?
I mean, I haven't really seen much, honestly.
It's a little early.
Yeah, I would think it's more so like, what's the best way to say this? I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know. There's not a ton from the streets here recently anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
There haven't been a ton the last week or so of story that I've seen.
Or it's just not been as well covered.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the question. Is it that there's less going on or that there's less being covered? I don't really know. I do want to remind you that it's a Talker Tuesday on a Friday here on the afternoon Aardvark. Lavelle is scheduled to join us at, is he confirmed for usual time, 5:30?
He is, 5:30.
Did he have anything particular you wanted to talk about today?
When I ask him about 5:30, he says, sure, and then I call him at 5:30.
Yeah, that probably is smart.
We kind of keep it minimal.
It keeps it more wide open that way.
Sometimes he butt dials me in between.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends.
Yeah, that's... the texts are coming in. It's not surprising. Can I ask? I need to ask the... I guess this would be the Sharks in our audience. Do you have anything else you can go with beyond TDS? Do you ever try to get beyond? I mean, I get how convenient it is. Here's how I dismiss any criticism. Here's how I don't have to consider any of the facts that I've just laid out. These aren't interpretations. These are facts.
Google Cato Institute, too, like you said.
Well, yeah, that's what's so ironic about it. If your game is the only comeback you have is TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, what you're signaling to me is you do not really know how to combat the accusations. So it's more convenient, rather than considering the possibility that your guy is very vulnerable in these areas, and it's been proven over and over again, you just, TDS, can't handle it. What are you going to do? So why try to listen to any of this? I'm just telling you that I know it's quick. You get it in and out on the text. You don't even have to spell the word out. You just go TDS. But it's not very convincing because rarely, if ever, is it followed by any sort of counter to what these accusations are. And again, as you say, check out Cato. Now, it'll be dismissed there because that's a rhino site. Bunch of rhinos. So there's always a shorthand that can talk yourself out of actually facing this crap and looking it in the mirror rather than running from it on the basis of, what about those other administrations? Well, I started this segment by saying the Biden pardons were disgusting. We savaged them early and often. However, it's all about proportion and what Cato's pointing out, because they're certainly acknowledging some of those other bad pardons, but they're saying that this is pardoning on another level that we've not seen before. So both things can be absolutely true, and they are. So you can, if it makes you feel better to just go with the TDS, go for it. It's free. It's I haven't blocked you. Go ahead, go for it. But it doesn't come off convincing. It comes off as, I don't know what else to say. So I'll do it in a way where I don't even have to consider the possibility this might be true. I'll dismiss it out of hand because TDS, that's the explanation for all of it. All of these things that continue to happen, even though a number of Republicans have also continually asked some questions as well. All right, we got top five at 5?
We do.
What do we got?
Plenty on the Olympics, a college football playoff proposal for you, and a big, massive, maybe not really, retirement in the National Basketball Association.